Christians. So, what are Christians? Christians are people who adhere to Christianity, and a Christian is someone who believes in Jesus Christ and follow his teachings. So, Christian also encompasses an indigenous group in Mindanao. Almost 200,000 Visayan-speaking peoples of eastern and northern Mindanao were converted to Christianity during the Spanish colonial period. This includes some people of Butuan, Davao, Camiguin Island, Cagayan de Oro, Misamis Oriental, Iligan, Ozamis, Dapitan, Dipolog, and the Chavacano of Zamboanga City, among others. These people have now combined into a larger Christian population of Mindanao, but dialect are not the same. Especially among Chavacanos, they remain recognizable. The Chavacanos were originally natives of Ternate in the Moluccan Islands of eastern Indonesia and were Christians. They were brought to Zamboanga and Manila in the mid-1800s or earlier to serve as soldiers. So Christian settlers, inhabitants of Mindanao today, are or are descended from, comprises of 70% of the Christian Filipino population in Mindanao. Owing to the inability to distinguish those who have immigrated and those who have a longer history of residence in Mindanao, the 70% figure simply lumps them all together. So dako gid ang percentage sa mga Christians nga nagpuyo sa Mindanao. Ang 70% apil na diri ang nag-immigrate ng mga Christians. Apil na po sa 70% ang dugay na nga mga residents diri sa Mindanao. And down to the concept of Christian Filipinos, pan-Christianity, one bread, one body, and one soul. These concepts are comparable community concepts as in the Christian concept bajo de campana or under the bell, and Islam's bajo de masjid or under the mosque. While this still leaves the equally diverse Lumad beliefs in the middle, they too have concepts of belonging to one community that intersect with those of Muslim and Christian Filipinos. So kaning mga concept is comparable siya kay ang Christian concept which is bajo de campana or under the bell concept, which is ang belief sa mga Christians kay before magsugod ang simba is hiring nila ang bell. While ang sa Islam kay bajo de masjid or under the mosque, diri sila ga praising. And then ang concept po sa lumad sa ilang mga belief kay intersect mostly sa mga Christian Filipinos. So these are the present standing of peace efforts in Mindanao. Actors: the Philippine state, civil society, ordinary citizens, the foreign observers, foreign states, the embassies, organizations such as the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN and the European Union, as well as the United States and Australia, have a vested interest in solving the problems in Mindanao. They contend and understand that peace can only be attained if there is social and economic justice. Poverty and rebellion are closely intertwined. Access Philippine Program confirms that ordinary citizens, students, the youth, the community organizers, and other elements of civil society have a concrete and major role to play in the piece-by-piece resolution of the conflict in Mindanao. Instead of merely thinking big, individuals who espouse Christianity, Islam, and other indigenous faith systems can build peace one person at a time by starting with themselves and spreading the goodwill to their families, friends, communities, schools, places of worship, and society at large. So the Organization of Islamic Conference or the OIC supports the Mindanao peace process, wherein Malaysia plays a prominent role. President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo attended the Asia-Europe meeting or ASEM on October 7 to 9 in 2004 in Hanoi, Vietnam. She thanked the Southeast Asian and European leaders for their support of the peace process with the MILF. The MILF has wide popular backing in a countryside where poverty and underdevelopment have promoted rebellion. So the government of the Republic of the Philippines, or the GRP negotiators, and 12,000 strong Moro Islamic Liberation Front, or MILF, agreed to create the International Monitoring Team, or IMT, when Malaysia hosted their meeting from February 19 to 20, 2004 in Kuala Lumpur. The talks between the GRP and MILF started in January 1987, soon after the GRP signed the final peace agreement with the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF. President Joseph Estrada ordered an all-out war against the MILF headquarters in Camp Abu Bakar in Matanog town of Mindanao, and Arroyo ordered the Philippine Army to assault known MILF layers in Pikit town of North Cotabato. Scholar Abhut Siad M. Linga of 2004, an executive director of the Bangsamoro Studies, argues that peace negotiations between the GRP and the MILF will not be enough to establish a sustainable peace. He states that a new formula is needed that ensures the participation of the Bangsamoro people themselves in deciding the direction of their future political relationship with the national government. He proposes that a referendum be held that offers the Bangsamoro people a choice of political status between expanded autonomy, a federal relationship, or independence. He notes the need for the deployment of third-party peacekeeping forces to prevent further hostilities. Another scholar, Morgan of 2003, raises some serious cautionary notes about how such a referendum could be of assistance in resolving the conflict, given the multitude of stakeholders, issues, and actors involved in the conflict. Mindanao is now a home to a majority Christian population, while many Lumad hold 9 ancestral land claims throughout the island. She argues that each group in Mindanao would have to have a serious role in the referendum process in order to assure fair representation and ultimate support for the outcome. In her view, civil society is the place for this kind of dialogue to begin, rather than with a referendum, and Christians, Moros, and Lumad need to negotiate and decide how best to create an interdependent and not independent resolution to the conflict. So on what basis could a common set of understanding support such a dialogue? Dr. Nagasura Madali of 1999 suggested that a search for a unifying ideology of identity might begin with the very notion of nationhood, or bangsa, or bansa. So the Maranao, or the people of the lake, believe they are all descended from one common lineage, or salsila, and call this concept Merepeda sa Poset, or each one is a fan of a long umbilical cord. The belief that every Maranao is a part of this one common lineage can be traced to 2 sources. Number 1 is the mythical folk hero, or the Radia in Darapatra. Number 2 is the Islamic source, Sharif Kabungsuman. Their children intermarried and came to the Lanao Lake region and converted the Maranao to Islam. Islam also brought with it a much broader concept of universal brotherhood, the Ummah, or the Islamic community that transcends geographical borders, races, and ethnic identities. These concepts, all Muslims are brothers and sisters and can be envisioned as one body. So if any part of the body suffers pain, the whole body feels it. ARMM, or the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, was a political gesture on the part of the national government to create a resemblance to the Sultanate system that would still be anchored in the Philippine Constitution and sovereignty. While very imperfect, it nevertheless was designed to provide political accommodation without total devolution of power. So can the ARMM serve the purpose of building a new sense of nationalism and national identity among the Bangsamoro? Islamic institutions and concepts, especially in education, that are being initiated to accommodate the Moro desire for national integration, into the larger national political scene without losing their ethnic and religious identity as Muslims. The ideology and framework of the ARMM is not devoid of the Western concept of the separation of church and state, and many morals recognize that it is one way for the national government to address their century-old dream of self-governance. The institutionalization of the ARMM was based on the majority Christian concept of popular democracy and the concept of the separation of church and state. Finance, taxation, national security, foreign affairs, exploration of natural resources within the region, and the yearly budget allocation are still under the full control of the national government. So Information Management Technology, or the IMT, its role is to monitor the implementation of the GRP-MILF ceasefire agreements. Representatives from Malaysia, Brunei, Libya, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Japan composes the IMT. The IMT would set up its head office in Cotabato City and satellite offices in the cities of Zamboanga, Iligan, Davao, General Santos. The Cuban, Argentinian, Brazilian, Chilean, and Venezuelan ambassadors to the Philippines collectively praised the GRP and MILF efforts to work for peace in the southern Philippines. When an effective and presumably sustainable peace agreement is signed, the United States, Australia, and some members of the European Union will provide assistance to Mindanao. All actors concur that the economy and politics are equally important issues and directly connected. They go hand in hand, and one is not more important than the other. If poverty is alleviated and the life of the people is improved, crime and revolution will subside. If there is a relative order and stability, the economy will grow. The political relationship between the MILF and its breakaway factions, civilian stakeholder, and the national government today remain an arena of intense speculation, negotiation, and diverse opinions. So is peace elusive in Mindanao? Pessimists claim that peace is nowhere in sight. Optimists argue that peace comes piecemeal, or one person and one activity at a time. The Access Philippines project is dedicated to this latter goal, and to creating a new generation of empowered youth leaders from all faiths and ethnic groups in the southern Philippines who desire to make a sustained peace a reality. Respect, appreciation, tolerance, and national reconciliation depend on a broader understanding of the conflict and history of the peoples of Mindanao, and this project is one step in that direction. Thank you so much.